I made this wand and I wanted to... Wait, no. I don't know. So, Christmas was yesterday. Today is the day after Christmas. And I listened to the Ocean Saga. That was amazing, by the way. And yeah, we're here to talk about handplates more. So, anyway, we have a prologue to talk about. On the side, I typed up in my script a little bit of a prologue because I just wanted to explain the, you know, stuff that has happened before handplates, before we actually start talking about it. Because after we talk about the prologue, we're going to start talking about Season 1. So let's talk about Gaster and his story, because that's what this prologue is actually about. In one of the first wars that happens, in, you know, the war that happens in Undertale, I'm pretty sure that's the one we're talking about here, we know that Gaster was with a group of other skeletons. They were probably going to be the last skeletons living. It was a group of elder and children who weren't out fighting, but they were trying to seek shelter. So Gaster was with these people trying to stay safe while everyone else was out fighting, as pretty much the entire skeleton race was being wiped out, as probably other monsters were as well. Somehow, Gaster got caught up, and the group that he was with were all killed, and Gaster was one of the only ones to survive. As Gaster was trying to flee away from all of the destruction and death and war and everything, he was curled up underneath his lab coat to try to hide from everything, because there was literally nowhere else for him to hide. And as he was hiding under this coat, and obviously he's rattling in fear, somebody comes and sees him, and this person being Asgore and Toriel, and they ended up taking him under his wing and got him to safety. After things calmed down a little bit, Gaster ends up getting separated from them, I think. He's stopped by a human, and he has to use blue magic to protect himself, and how he uses blue magic is very interesting, I think, especially with his other powers, because not only does he use blue magic, he also uses his magic hands, and he, grabs a sword with his magic hand and raises the human up above the sword with blue magic, and then... So yeah, that happens. So then later, after the war and everything, Gaster, obviously, he becomes the royal scientist and creates the core. And at this point, Gaster starts to experiment with homunculi, which we see this play out later on in episodes, but we're talking about it now because it's like prologue episodes. So anyway, his idea is that he was just going to make a monster. He was going to make a being with a soul. It came to a point where he had to use his own DNA by cutting circles into his hands.
What would you do?
Now, the reason why he was trying to make two beings with a soul was as a way to cross the barrier, because at this point, more children were dying and Asgore was taking their souls. The thought of Asgore having to, at some point, collect 7 or 8 human souls, this, like, really got to Gaster, so that's why he didn't want to give up this fatherly figure to him. Just in general, in handplates, I always see Toriel and Asgore as, like, Gaster's parent-like figures. So anyway, we're at the point where Gaster lasered holes into his hands. Then, after a while, they kind of started creating a shape while they were in they were, like, incubating? I don't know. They were being created in these tubes that have this, like, blue liquid in them, and this really cute, like, side episode where Gaster is looking at them and he's like, you're alive, but then at one point he's like, you're not supposed to look like me, like, he's starting to really realize that, like, not only are they skeletons, but they look just like him. While they were in their tubes, though, he was able to speed their growth up a lot, I think, from them being babies to, like, children. By the way, I love that's like one of the first episodes, like, chronologically. It's so cute. It's like them, like, when they wake up, they're, like, tapping on the glass, and they're, like, and Zarla even mentioned that when Papyrus is, like, tapping on the glass and he's looking at Sans, he kind of points to Sans and points to himself, because at this point in his consciousness, he's starting to think, are you me? Whew, I can't believe we're here already. Season 1, the lab arc. Now, I just like to specify that these sections, first section of this, we're going to be going by seasons based on the Starbutt dubs, you know, movie-long episodes. So, let's start with Season 1, the lab arc. However, Season 1 starts a little bit in the future. So we start with Radic/Frisk. Can I talk about how Radic is Zarla's Frisk's name? In case I didn't, Radic is Zarla's name she picked when playing Undertale. Sees how Sans and Papyrus keep hiding their hands in their pockets, or like, Papyrus wears gloves all the time, and Sans always has one hand in his pocket. That's a little suspicious. And so Frisk is just kind of curious and goes to find this out, and while they're sleeping, pulls their hands out and sees that they have hand plates screwed onto their hands. Later, when Frisk confronts them, Papyrus mentions that he feels like he's forgetting something. And then we get a quick flashback, and then... oh my gosh, his spaghetti's burning!
Hey Papyrus, I burnt the water.
Sans, how the fuck did you burn the water?
And yes, it will come full circle. We'll get to that. Now we are back on the timeline. We're back in the past. So one of the first episodes that we see, we already talked about. Sans and Papyrus are in these test tubes and they're tapping the glass. They're looking at each other, and then after this we see their first moments out of the tubes. And we know that Gaster was very nervous about removing them from the tubes because he wasn't sure if they were ready to survive or not, but they did, and they were fine. And soon after that, Sans and Papyrus meet each other for the first time. And I don't know if I want to put this clip in now or later, and I found audio of me, like, reading some of these, like, episodes, like, when they first meet each other and everything, and I was just sobbing. I was sobbing because it was like the night that Handplates ended and I hadn't read the ending yet, but I was too busy literally crying over the ending of Handplates.
So, I'm successfully crying now, because I haven't read it yet, I'm not reading it till like tomorrow. I'm crying because I'm looking at brothers meet for the first time. It always gets me at this part, because like, seeing them so happy before their lives get destroyed. Yesterday, somebody posted, I think Zarla drew this, but like Gaster's face when he right here when he says like they are indeed little right here, they are indeed little skeletons, and like Zarla drew him with like a smile on his face. That's like so like sad. I'm crying. I'm making screenshots because I want to make a TikTok because I just know it's gonna make me cry. Alright, I'm gonna go make it now.
So obviously the experiments don't happen right away. So obviously the first time Gaster hurts them is obviously when he screws on the hand plates. And also in that whole episode, this is where Gaster decides whether or not he's going to choose to do these experiments or continue, like, being nice to them. He's like, I gotta decide, do I choose mercy or do I choose the fight option? Later on, not too long after this, Sans tries to make his first ever escape attempt, which I'm saying first because there's multiple times. And this first time is obviously not the greatest time he tried to escape. Basically, while he was out in this room with Gaster, they must have been talking or something, I'm not sure really what was going on, And then Gaster gets a phone call from Alphys about a meeting that he missed. And so while he's distracted with a phone call, Sans takes the opportunity to run away and goes over to the cell and is trying to unlock the door with his own hands, which, well, not door, the cell laser beams. Then he's trying 2 hands because his hands are too small, and he's trying everything, but quickly Gaster finds out. So then, not too long after this happens, a little while later, Gaster is trying to fix his eye because while he started doing the lasers, I think he's trying to, like, literally, like, put magic into them by putting it, like, through their eyes or something. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure his right eye breaks, as in, like, he becomes blind in that eye. Gaster obviously feels kind of bad because not only is Sans broken already, but he also soon realizes how weak Sans really is and that he has to be extra careful with Sans. He's trying to fix his eye by, I don't know, electrical currency? I don't know. He's trying to put these, like, things around his skull and he's trying to fix it, but then there was a surge or something and the power goes haywire. Sans' head, at least half of it, explodes. How Sans survives this is a gosh dang miracle.
Pooh, how are you? They took my fucking eyes.
This episode really kind of reminds me of that one, like, fanfiction. I think somebody made, like, an animatic of it. It was called Impaired. I'm not sure who it was by. I think it was by Katie Lou. I know Katie Lou was the one who read it. Shout out to Katie Lou. She also wrote some fanfictions for Undertale. Or no, for Handplates, which you should definitely check out because we will be mentioning this again later on. It's actually really good. You should go check them out. There's a couple parts on there. You should check out Katie Lou in general. It reminds me of Impaired, the fanfiction where Papyrus, like, something happens to him and he's, like, freaking rocks fall on his face, and so his skull is just shattered but he's alive. Anyway, rant over. I need water.
So I skipped over a couple of pages and I forgot to mention that Gaster ends up giving Papyrus the same laser treatment as he does to Sans, and Papyrus freaks out. Then Papyrus is temporarily blinded in a sense because he has bandages on his face and covering his eyes while he's healing. Go to sleep and Sans has a vision. But this is probably one of my favorite moments and probably one of the best parts, in my opinion, to the point where I recreated this entire scene. Oh, and we also find out that Gaster is tracking Sans and Papyrus with their handplates. This is very important.
Gaster breaks Papyrus's arm. Let me explain. So basically, one day Sans gets really smart and he's, they're tossing a bone tossing game, which is literally just like them removing their arm and like tossing it in, tossing it back. But Sans got really smart the one day and decided, hey, I'll just leave my arm here. And it's the arm with the hand plate on it. I didn't mention, which I did not, I know I didn't, but the hand plates are a tracking device. Sans gets smart, and let's say this is his hand, or his arm, I should say. He gets smart and he says, hey, I'll just leave it here today. It's not like I need it or anything. So he says, alright, 2P, come over here, hand me your arm, because I don't have time to teach a proper lesson. So Gaster takes Papyrus's arm and snaps it. But instead, it was just him trying to scare the shit out of them and, to not get them to remove their arms with the hand plates. This is when shit, I think, really starts to go down. So then this happens. Gaster finds out about their future visions at one point. Sans and Papyrus can have these visions through either... Sometimes they might have dreams about them, but they can just straight up, like, they can be, like, holding each other's hands to make the visions stronger. Sans tends to have visions of red and gold, which is literally just Judgment Hall is the gold, and the red is the... I don't want to say the word because of YouTube stuff. The fruit punch that is all over the floor and everything, and he gets a vision of a a handprint of fruit punch on the one pillar. And the ketchup. Yeah, the ketchup got everywhere. He had ketchup in his shirt and it came all out everywhere. Oh my gosh. And Papyrus had more pacifist in visions. He tended to have visions of a lot of white, and because he would be thinking of Snowden. And then there was, I think one of the first visions he has, he sees Frisk's pink and blue sweatshirt and everything. At one point, Papyrus sees, like, their house. He's like, oh, I see a house with lots of colors and all this. And he's like, that's gonna be our house one day. And that will come up later. So Gaster is taking Papyrus into this other room, and immediately Papyrus is like, oh my gosh, because he sees his brother sitting in the chair. Papyrus is obviously trying to lie. There's been many times where Papyrus tries to lie to Gaster, but he's so bad at lying.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
He's trying to, like, he puts on this, like, really weird head equipment on them. You know what it reminds me of? Lollipops. Okay, so then the next thing that happens is we finally see Sans sleeping for a long period of time, which, this might sound weird, but this is a thing that Sans does. We know that Sans is like a lazy bum, but Zarla kind of took this to like the next level, into like where like Sans like basically has like these mini comas where he just sleeps for like a really long period of time. Like he'll sleep for like days on end, and it's just a weird thing that's just. And how he finds this out is that he goes to check on the brothers, and he sees that Sans is still sleeping, and he's like, yo, why is 1S still sleeping? And Papyrus is like, he just didn't wake up. He's fine, he's just sleeping. And then Gaster comes in, and this is one of the first times where we see Papyrus trying to defend himself against Gaster. The only reason he does this is because, and he even says so why he does it, but he does this because Gaster told him to be very careful with Sans, and because he knew how weak he was. And Papyrus basically takes this to a whole nother level, and he really takes this seriously. Okay, so, it's been a little while. Sorry about that. Amulet shirt. And I cut my hair. Yes, it's still long, but like I just did this. So, long story short, what happened is I filmed this whole long segment. I went to stop recording, but what had happened is my camera already just stopped recording like right before that. So what happened is I went to stop recording, and then it started recording, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't film any of that, and I did. I just didn't look through my footage at the time, so here we're just gonna finish talking about season 1, because I never actually finished it. There's not much left to go. Also, there's some things that I kind of missed out on, that I want to go back and talk about. It's not much, but just get it out of the way. Let's get the season 1 finished, so we can start working on season 2, because season 2 is just more lab arc. And then we'll get on to season 3. Probably my favorite season is season 3. So I'm excited to get to season 3. And then there's season 4 and 5. You guys aren't ready. You guys aren't ready. So let's go back and talk about some things that I skipped in the last video. Anyway, let's talk about the Rubik's Cube, because it shows up a couple times in the comic. It's not really like too important. Gaster has a couple of these like puzzle things that he finds, I'm assuming in the dump, and so he has a Rubik's Cube and like some other like weird like puzzle things, and he likes to give them to Sans and Papyrus and like test them with it. It's this adorable episode when they're talking about times that Gaster smiled at them, and Sans tells the time when he solved the Rubik's Cube. Like, he was like, well, take this one, S, and it might take you a little while. Oh, you solved it already. And so he's like very impressed that Sans solved it in like 2 seconds. And so he smiled at that because he was very just impressed and shocked by it that he let his guard down and smiled. One of the first times we actually get to see Papyrus using the cube is actually a time that he stole it. He took it without Gaster knowing, and
So he's playing with the cube, and then later, like, Gaster, like, lets him have it and lets them, like, play with it eventually. But at first, he takes it without Gaster knowing, and he's, like, messing with it. And this is in a section of the comic where it's, like, after Sans' head explodes. Papyrus is like, where's my brother? I'm really worried about him. And then Gaster's just like, yeah, he's still dying, but where'd you get that cube? My point is this part is important because it leads to future Papyrus making the X's and O's puzzle. This is where it comes from. Basically, right after this, Papyrus does learn how to heal. Papyrus learns how to heal by going to Sans, who still has, like, a fractured skull. Even though, like, the pieces are all there, like, he's still, like... But Gaster has a hard time healing, so he brings 2P in because 2P also needs to learn how to heal. And guess what? Papyrus is amazing at healing. Time to segue back to when Sans breaks his eye. Papyrus goes to him, and he tries to heal him, but I don't think he even understands that he can heal. He's just, like, trying to, like, comfort him, and he's just glowing orange, which, back to Papyrus healing Sans. It works. We go into the little healing dimension, which that's a thing I don't know if I've mentioned or not, but there's this, like, healing dimension that we see every time one of them heals, and I don't really know how to explain this, but it's just a healing dimension that we see. Gaster sees that this works because Sans was harmed, and it gave Papyrus a motive to heal him, even though, like, 5 seconds ago he was like, I can't heal, I can't do it, oh shit, my brother's hurt. So he heals him because he knows that he's hurt, so he just does it through instincts. Gaster takes this to another level. It's implied that he hurts Papyrus on purpose, comes into the cell, and he's very weak. His skull is all, like, his skull is kind of cracked, he's all banged up and everything, and he's like, I need you to heal me, I hurt. I'm hurting, I need you to heal me. And he's, like, about ready to pass out, and Sans is freaking out, like Papyrus was. He's doing the exact same thing Papyrus was, and he's like, I can't heal you, I don't know how, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm freaking out right now. And Papyrus passes out, and he immediately heals him, again, on instinct. The same thing happens with Sans. He just heals him on instinct, and then he's like, oh. But then, after that, we do see that he didn't heal him, like, all the way. There was still, like, a crack on his face. And this leads Sans to feel really bad because he couldn't heal him all the way because he's not strong enough. It saddens him, and it's really sad to actually watch because, like, he's really like, I couldn't heal you all the way. Like, you're my brother, I'm supposed to fix you, and you can fix me, but I can't fix you. Like I can just tell he feels worthless in that scene. And it's just really sad to see. My last bit I'm gonna say about that section is that it's kind of up to the reader's interpretation that Gaster actually hurt Papyrus on purpose. He might not have, it might have been an accident, but to me, I don't think it was. This is kind of like our segue into the ending of season 1. And so Papyrus learns about LV, or love. So Gaster is teaching Papyrus about LV for some reason. Gaster also explains how many people you have unalived. And then he goes on to explain that, like, I've unalived people. And Papyrus is like, you what? You what? He doesn't understand the reason why. Because we know that Gaster unalived people in the war, and that's what he's referring to. Other than that, he's never, like, unalived anyone else. Around this time, we then get to see Gaster trying to get Papyrus to unalive something. He's trying to test him to see how far he'll go, to see if he will actually do it. I forgot how to word this. So, Sans is more likely to unalive somebody, but whether or not Gaster sees him doing it because of his HP, he's worried with his 1 HP he won't be able to do anything. Which, Sans is very good at dodging, we know that. But then it comes to Papyrus. Papyrus is the strong one, but he will not hurt anything because he is so pacifist.
he's trying to get Papyrus to unalive something that's in a cage or in a little crate. And he even goes as far as like threatening to like hurt Sans. He's like, he has him like all like with bones around. So it's kind of crazy. It's like a really like rough scene to watch. And again, we don't know if he actually did anything to the crate. We don't know. It's cut off. But here's the kicker. I'm gonna insert a clip.
In actuality, there wasn't anything in the carrier. It was
confirming that the crate that we were talking about, the cage that supposedly has a thing in it, like a creature or something. We don't know. We don't see what's inside the crate, but Zarla confirms that there was nothing in it.
In actuality, there wasn't anything in the carrier. In actuality, there wasn't anything in the carrier.
For nothing
In actuality, there wasn't anything in the carrier. There wasn't anything in the carrier.
Actually, I forgot something. Before we talk about the last conversation in season 1, there's this added scene that Starbot Dubs just kind of put in there. There's obviously no visuals, there's just sound. What we get from this is Gaster goes to this shop, supposedly in Snowden, and buys an animal of some sort, or a monster or something, buys something that is living, and then he takes it back to the lab and starts like beating it, like starts hurting it. And then it leads to that episode where there's a thing in the crate. Because again, that is up to the interpretation. And so Starbot Dubs took it up to their interpretation that there was in fact a creature in this crate. But in canon reality, there actually wasn't. But it's never specified in the comics. So like I don't blame them for adding that scene. I don't really like or dislike it. It's literally like a couple seconds long, so it's not like a whole added thing, but like
what a surprise seeing you in here again.
Ah, yes, well, I'm in need of something a little specific.
Oh, such as?
Do you have... this one.
Nasty little guy, ain't he?
Well, he's certainly what I was looking for.
In that case, that'll be, 50 gold.
50G it is.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
And wish the boys well for me.
Okay, I really don't mean to interrupt this. What does this person mean by wish the boys well for me? What does that mean? No one knows about the brothers. So who are the boys?
So let's talk about the last conversation that happens in Handplates. Sans and Gaster are playing chess together, and the episode is called Bravery, and they are talking about just that. They're talking about bravery and also choices, which that will come up quite a bit. Sans tries to ask Gaster why he's trying to get Papyrus to things. Gaster's trying to he's starting to talk about like, oh, because he's pacifist and I'm trying to get him to not be a pacifist. And Sans stops him and says something along the lines like, because he's braver than you'll ever be. And it gets to them talking about bravery and what does bravery mean in certain situations. Back to choices, you're making that choice of like harming someone to save another, or like unaliving somebody to save someone you care about. And does that make you brave? Like, does that make you a good person because you were trying to save another person? Another thing that is brought up is in the conversation a little bit, it's kind of hinted at, is Gaster not agreeing with pacifism. This is just a thing. He hates pacifism. Like, he just can't stand it. He believes that pacifism only leads to getting other people unalived, and it gets other people hurt. And the reason he believes this is because of his trauma in the war, because he didn't fight. And so he truly believes that pacifism is just not worth it, because you're just gonna either get people you loved or people you know hurt, or you'll get yourself hurt. And he tries to push that a lot onto Papyrus because, yes, it happens. That's pretty much everything that happens in Season 1. We'll be right back to talk about Season 2, because Season 2 just picks right up and continues. But I'm gonna end Season 1 with this clip, because again, we're gonna be talking about choices a lot. Handplates is a story about choices, and I'm just gonna play this clip.
And is that it doesn't matter. Good, bad, it always comes down to the same principle. You kill, or you are killed.
That can't be all there is.
That's all that matters. You call it bravery, I call it stupidity. But either way, one day he will end up dead because of it. And whether or not you could have done something about it, that question will haunt you for however long you live afterwards. You need to make sure that you can live with your choices.